Hi, everybody. Happy to have you guys here, and thank you for coming. My name is Tomer. I'm a co-founder of Flori Ventures, and welcome to Web3 Gaming for Everyone. In order to make it a bit easy, let's start with a bit of intros. Each one tell a bit about himself, about the company, what he's working on, and from there we'll get into the questions and the panel. So, Flo, you want to start?
Sure. Is this on? Test.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Flo. Nice to see everyone. I'm with Wildchain. Wildchain is a play-to-impact mobile game where players can digitally adopt endangered animals and then build their own wildlife sanctuary. And while they do that, just by playing, they create real-world impact. So we're building a wildlife conservation grant DAO, where basically the players can then decide which charities are receiving the funds.
Hi everyone, my name is Rehm. I've been in space since 2017, tried out a lot of different things from trading to tokenization of assets to DAO journey, social tokens, platform tokens, and now I'm building Atlantis world, which is Web3 social metaverse. I'm also contributing to Witnet, which is the centralized Oracle network. Both the projects are live on Celo. In terms of Atlantis, we are gamifying Web3 social education and gaming itself, integrating mini games in a 2D pixel lightweight browser-based metaverse.
Hey, I'm Shahar, and I'm from the Xternity Games team. I'm CDO, and Xternity Games is a gaming platform for the Web3. Basically, we are focusing on two really important things. One, to reduce the development time for the game developers, so they can focus on building great games and less than technical aspect of the crypto. And the second is creating revenue streams for these games, because the blockchain is a bit changing the game economy, and we're helping with the adoption of new game economy for the new games coming in. We are based in Tel Aviv, and good to see you.
Nice. So let me start. Like, the panel is called Web3 Gaming for Everyone. I hear Web3, I hear MetaMask, I hear onboarding, offboarding, crypto, losing my money, and hacks. How do you get that to saying everyone? What's the connection here to everyone? So what is like Web3 for everyone?
Yeah, so for me, I think Web3 gaming is basically the next shift for games. So it's implementing NFTs, it's implementing DAOs, it's implementing cryptocurrencies, and because of that, what it empowers players to do is take the value from the game outside of the game. And previously with Web2 games, it was sort of this closed system where the player would play and spend a lot of time and also money in that game world. And yeah, now with Web3 games, basically they have the potential to take it out of that world and change it into a cryptocurrency. And that kind of changes everything. I think Web3 games are going to be or GameFi, how they also call it, are the next big shift for games. After, in the last decade, we had two big shifts, which was mobile and free-to-play games that are mainly ad financed. So now the revenue streams for game developers are going to change. And now game developers can do cool things like play to earn, or in Wildchain's case, play to impact and play to earn, and where actually people can make money. And I think the Philippines is this great example where Web3 games and play to earn games actually put food on the table. And I think, yeah, in the next couple of years, we will see a shift from in the perception how games are perceived. Usually they had a negative reputation with shooter games, and now it's more and more used as a tool for good. And I think Web3 is empowering that.
Okay, you want to add something?
Yeah, I love that point. I think the notion of what Florian's building, play to impact, I think it's so native in the idea of making that impact accessible for everyone. And I think that's the next kind of milestone that we all need to overcome together as the space, because even if you are a builder of the game, of metaverse, or anything that's gamifying the given product, you need to still think about your end user and think about how you could make it in the way that it's as, how can you set the bar as low as possible so your end user can actually use that. So you don't need expensive hardware, you don't need to, like pay an incredible amount of financial upside to actually play it. You don't need to have a big investment to start that. And making your game, your product as seamless in terms of onboarding as possible is also going to enable the next millions or perhaps even billions of users to come into Web3.
Okay, and do you want to add?
Yeah, maybe I just wanted about the true ownership, about the assets. It's something that we already was experiencing the bigger platform. And the blockchain is a great infrastructure to enable this true ownership. And I think this is making much difference on the Web3 gaming and the way the gameplay should lead you to get better characters, better lands, better, and this is what we are focusing on.
So I hear it, and Xternity I think is the most known example at the moment. And we talk about the fact that everybody is participating and earning money, but then there is two sides to the same coin that I want us to talk about. One is the prosperity for all. How do you build games in a way that, okay, it's nice that we're building games, but people are actually earning money while doing it. But how do you do it while avoiding the dark side of gaming in Web3 that we hear about, where we have farms of people playing for 19 hours a day, paid a low salary to do that because that's something that is happening. So how do you deal with that tension? What's your thoughts about that tension? Do you want to start if you joined us?
I'd love to, thank you. Sorry for being late. Bizarrely, I had a talk right upstairs about gaming. And what I was talking about then was just how similar this moment is to 10 years ago when mobile and free-to-play gaming first came on the scene, and there was so much hesitancy with the market with those types of games. A lot of gamers were rejecting it, and it was such early days with what was going on. Zynga was the Axie Infinity of 10 years ago, and I think obviously we're figuring it out right now, and we don't know how this is all going to work out, and these are the challenges that we have to come up with, we have to solve, and I think it's so tricky. I mean, I think even what you talked about, the idea of the 19 hours having these farms, balancing that, creating real economic opportunity versus having it be something where it's too much is maybe it's okay if as long as that opportunity is created, that's a winning situation. That's better than gaming has been in the past. But we have to do better. And I think for the enormous companies, they're working on this so hard. For us, I think we're just trying to figure out how to get a game to work, which is a different challenge.
That's number one.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe to add on to that, so I see two big blockers right now for Web2 games or Web3 games. So one is basically that is still too complicated to play these games. You need to know how to install a wallet. It's very complicated. There's many steps required to actually start playing. So that excludes already a lot of people. And then the second point is that the cost of starting to play is too high. So some of these play-to-earn games require $1,000, upfront to be able to play the core game loop, and that excludes a lot of people.
Which is more than a console, which is crazy.
Which is crazy,
Which is crazy.
And that's why these people join these farms, because they don't have that upfront investment. So what we as game developers need to do is to make it inclusive for everyone, that it's not too expensive, but that is also a big challenge because it depends on game economy, it depends on currency sinks and how much currencies the players can grind or farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to add also one important point is, I agree with previous points, but I feel we neglect a lot the education side, and to me education is empowerment, because a lot of people think about how to make their games addictive or fun, and fun is critical because if your game is not fun, it's not sustainable.
Or it's not a game.
Yeah. But then the challenge here is also how to make your game or how to build that in a way that it actually teaches users about Web3 in an interactive way. Or even if you don't build a game, how you can gamify your product so it can actually onboard people and teach them, because that's, again, to your point about this, building farms. If people have this knowledge, right, if they have this power how to make their living in a way that actually creates impact rather than, working 90 hours per week and, just clicking some buttons, I think that's the way to go. And that's not just a challenge that we as game builders, as metaverse builders, need to solve. That's a challenge for all of us. And that's why it's really exciting to see products when they have this, learn page, whether that's a protocol or even blockchain. They have a forum, they have a whole block, area, and that's really exciting. But the next way is to do that inside of the game, whether that's onboarding quests, whether that's a learn to earn models, etc.
Nice. That brings me a little bit, like, I want to go back to something you mentioned about the costs. Like, you're all talking about, I want to go technically, like, how do you avoid that $1,000 buy an NFT to start playing? What do you do in order to what's your options? Shahar?
So, actually, it's a matter of demand and supply. And the game at first is much responsible for the amount of supply, and we, I think, as a player, should avoid the highly pumping projects, and because this brings a lot of negative projects to jump in. You mentioned before the economy should fix there, and I totally agree. And the onboarding process need to be much simplified. So you have the guilds that getting involved here and coming in with new economy of it. So it's much depend on the game creator to manage the PR on the right way to understand who your community is, and not only to build a community around who wants to pay more, because at the end of the day we are talking about gaming, and we already see in Axie many users that losing their values for their assets. And as a new community that emerged, like the blockchain gaming, I think we better act with the responsibility to how much people brings in at first, and build sustainable economy, game economy, that allow everyone to enjoy, and focusing about the advantage of the blockchain and not just hype it, because it's a new era and not some
New casino.
yeah. Thank you.
Nice.
Just to add to that, it's such a challenge this moment in gaming, because if you're building a project and you have the chance to sell 1,000 or 5,000 on a certain platform, and you can charge $300 or $100, and then somewhere else you can charge $5 and you might not sell out. If you're looking at that to fund the game development, that's obviously a huge decision. And then what's driving so many of these projects is this opportunity for, in this moment at least, is the upside, is that speculation. So to make a project be successful, you have to be a desirable place, you need the exclusivity, which drives that growth. So I think it's going to take some special projects, and we don't know where they'll be, but that can seed it and play this long game and experiment with new ways of playing. So maybe it is, what does a blockchain game look like if it's totally free to start? Where does that value creation come from? I don't know, but that's what we have to figure.
Doesn't that create a tension? Like, you're talking about community, and then you're talking about fundraising, and you're doing it in the same time. It sounds like you're selling the assets, and you're calling that community, but those are actually investors. Like, what's that tension like that I feel when you guys are talking about that, and how do you face it? Like,
Yeah, I'd love to add. I think a lot of startup founders think in the short term, and they have a problem of scarcity mindset versus abundance, because especially in gaming, Web3 gaming, the space is so small right now, and for those who do their research and understand gaming, gaming is a 3.4 billion user industry. If you think about that for a moment, 3.4 billion users are playing the games. Even like Minecraft, some people think it's not famous. It's actually some people are learning to play Minecraft at school. There is a whole, lessons about Minecraft. Kids are learning that, and they're playing, and there's more than 100 million kids that play in Minecraft. And imagine that power inside of the, together with the blockchain, right? And I think when we change the perspective towards the long-term thinking, and when that also comes to our community, we don't try to, kind of financialize it, right? We don't try to get the upside from the community. Your community will anyway support you if you're doing the good thing, because the community in Web3 also want to have the upside for that, right? That's why we tokenize the things, then we spread that, that's when decentralize. But I think that before you do that, you should build a foundation. Ideally, you should also provide some sort of use cases. Even if your game development will take years, you still need to prove that, hey, yes, I can build that, and I'm building with you. I'm getting your feedback. I'm listening to you, and we are getting together as community to decide what could be the critical aspects of that game or whatever I'm building, because you are matter, right? You are also part of this product. You're part of this force, this creative, impactful group of people that building that. It's not just about team, in my view, in Web3, it's about community.
it sounds like your guys are taking for obvious that you all have a community. But at the end of the day, you are a group of people in a room. How do you build a community? How do you get people to be part of that community that you talked about now? Like, I know it's hard, but how?
I don't know. I was hoping that was
Someone will answer that.
Yeah, someone
Someone
let me
have an
know.
Yeah, I can tell you what not to do.
That's also a good one.
Yeah, so you should have very transparent tokenomics, and you should have a great website with a great team, great partnerships. And with all of that, it's still hard. And we are not from the community space, we are a B2B company. Yet I think it's, maybe I'll mention Celo here, because Celo is a totally different community-based network. And I think that it's a good good opportunity for different kinds of games, like my friends here, that can reach the segmented community. I don't like this word, but it's a different community, different thinkers, and not, maybe for now, not all the games will fit the same communities. So having the communities focusing on different projects, I think will help game developer to understand what network you want to work with on. And so this is one of the ways, look where are your audience and go there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. For us, we actually had never in mind to target a crypto audience, right? Because there's not so many crypto games out there compared to the big gaming market, and there's 2.2 billion mobile gamers out there. So that's the audience we want to target, right? Not a few sort of privileged crypto gamers who are financially well off. So I think in order to successfully build a community, you need to really know the needs and desires of your target audience. And for that, we need to look at the new generation that is coming, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And for they basically are the first digital native generation.
Or even crypto native.
Or a crypto native, yeah. So they grew up with phones, and for them it's like an extension of their arm, and it's natural for them to use phones. But at the same time, they already experienced a lot of economic stress. So there was a financial crisis in 2008, and they probably saw how that influenced their parents or their neighborhoods and so on. And so this new generation that is coming is a lot more politically savvy and a lot more engaged. So their purchasing decision and the way they spend their time is an expression of their values and their identity. And that's why you need to pay attention what they are looking for, and then many of them try to spend their money and time in a more sustainable way. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think Games for Good are a great idea, because this new generation, the people who went on the street for Fridays for Future, they are looking for games that are meaningful and games that are fun at the same time. And if they can even earn money from it, then it's a win-win situation and the community will follow.
Couple of points. The first one, I think it's critical to first understand that what you're actually building is impactful, and even more so, what you're building is also ideally solves your problem that you have, because then you care even more. The second thing is, it feels like a lot of people are expecting community to come, like they're building stuff and they're like, okay, where's the community? And to me, it's funny because when you're building stuff, you're literally starting from zero, right? You're the no name, so to speak, right? And that reminds me a great article from Paul Graham called "Do Things That Don't Scale." What it means is you're basically doing things that you cannot automate, like you writing you're creating handwritten letters, you're sending them to your friends, to your peers, to your potential audience. You're going out there, literally yourself as a founder, co-founder, as a core team member, and asking people, their feedback. And that way, you're actually building something that's sustainable. You're showing people with your actions that, hey, I do care about you. I do care about your opinions. I do care that you are part of my community, because what I'm building for you, and thus I'm here. And I did that myself. Back in the days, we were building a token-gated city for CryptoPunks. I was literally DMing CryptoPunks in Discord, and some of them were like, hey, don't try to scam me, please. No links, nothing. I was like, no worries. Like, I literally just need your feedback. I want to hear your ideas, right? Like, this is the picture, like, nothing more. This is the idea of what I'm building. What do you think about that? Would you play that? Would you battle with our other CryptoPunks? And the funny thing is, right now I'm friends with some of them, and some of them are actually our partners. And when I go back to our story, there was a guy who was just randomly DMing people, and some people thought I'm spamming and they blocked me, so it never stopped me. And so to me, that's an act of care. And the third thing is also what Celo is doing right now, right? Once you kind of achieve that product market fit or product community fit, you scale that. So you scale that by doing something on, like large. For example, with impact market, right? What Celo recently did, and that's really fantastic. As I'm from Ukraine, and I'm running this fund called On-Chain Fund, and I'm helping people. We raised $7.5 million in the last 4 weeks, and Celo has been also instrumental to that. And Celo Foundation has donated $1 million to impact market that does UBI on scale. So this kind of things are exciting, because you can then, once you achieve that product community fit, you can scale that with the people and products that care.
Interesting. It feels like there's something that is changing here. Like you talked about as the feeling of the moving from console to mobile, it's a new era. And then I hear about gaming founders going personally and reaching out to people to be part of their community. And in a way, when we moved from console to mobile phones, it felt like everybody are trying to be building console games on mobile, and it didn't really work, right? The games themselves changed. And is that movement happening again? Would we see different games now because of crypto, or crypto is just the technology in the back that is changing a bit of the economics?
I think the games at the beginning were very different, and the feedback from traditional gamers were, these are not games, this is just tapping on a penguin or flying a bird, whatever it was. And as the technology has improved, iPhones are more powerful than a PlayStation 3. We're now seeing those console experiences on phones. So Fortnite is playable on both. Genshin Impact is like Zelda's Breath of the Wild. These experiences are there. I think 10 years from now, I mean, the game idea, I think we all know, or I know, the blockchain game that makes sense is players own all their gear, they're playing an RPG, I can take my sword, I can sell it if I want, I can take it to another game. That's the dream, and I think we'll be there 10 years from now, but how we get there is going to be a long journey. And there will be new types of games for new types of players, absolutely, who don't want to do that traditional RPG or strategy games or shooter games. There'll be new things will be invented, are being invented.
I think that we're seeing the gaming industry trying to adopt the blockchain, and it's not yet there. Like at the beginning, it was like gamifying DeFi stuff. So only the ability to interact with the blockchain was enough. And now we are seeing games that are more fit to the digital ownership that I mentioned before. So the game design is well built on the idea that the player will want to grow his character, his sword, and maybe it will worth more in the future. So this is how you play an end. And actually, it's at the end of the day, we must have fun games, because otherwise they are not the games. It's not about Tamagotchis for all, like only growing it. It's and I think that we will end up with the good games, and the blockchain will be just behind of it. It will be almost transparent. So because we need the fun games. It's not something that we can replace. And the technology, the game engines, they will define what games we will play, and not the economy behind it.
Yeah. And also, I think as soon as, I actually disagree with Michael when he says it's going to take 10 years. I think it will be a lot faster
Me too.
if the wallets are so easy that the people can, there's now wallets with one-click sign-up and sort of Google login. If it's that easy to hold crypto, it will be a lot faster. And I think, Web3 will be the next evolution in gaming over the next couple of years. So after mobile and after free-to-play, now the play-to-earn is going to be the next mobile. And the game models will sort of gradually evolve. So right now, NFTs are not very usable in a lot of games. It's just more like a collectible or like a memento or like an award that you receive. But I think as the Web2 game developers learn more about Web3, they will come up with game design and new games that actually implement these new mechanics, these Web3 mechanics from the get-go. And then you have marketplaces that are, or games that are designed around trading game items, that there's liquidity for these NFTs, that there's an in-game currency that people can maybe exchange to another cryptocurrency and then pay out. And then you have the purest form that I'm trying to sort of build with Wildchain is the play to earn or play to impact together with the DAO, which actually then involves the community and the community gives the community an opportunity to shape the game as well.
I want to add something. I also agree that it will be much faster. I think that like frictionless onboarding, this is part of the things like we are very focusing on, and hopefully we will help many games to do that. Michael mentioned something different about what should be faster. It's the interportability, like for game asset in one game to another game. And I think this is the thing that you think will be like 10 years from now. And hopefully it will be faster.
I think it's a great point. I agree. Faster than 10 years. I agree.
But I think it's a great topic anyway. So maybe I just want to mention that this is also something that we really hope that we can help with to come up with some protocol or interface that our games in the platform will be able to share initially some real estates like arenas and making some royalties. So as I mentioned, like it's a very creative world, and we don't know where it goes. And I agree it will be much faster.
Isn't there a financial monetization problem with interoperability? The fact that you mentioned that as a game you're making your income by selling assets, but then I take my assets and I play with it in another game. In another game, if his model is about selling also assets and I'm using your assets, how is he making money? Like, isn't there a monetization problem here?
Yeah, I'll start. You want to take it?
Yeah, it's tricky.
Okay.
I mean, there's a company that they try and figure out. It happens with subscriptions right now sometimes, where they'll base it on usage. So maybe $10 come in, and it's all very blurry. It's like, okay, I take my avatar and I play it in 3 different games. I cashed in this game, $10 here, but I only get 33% because it pays out. They play more in those games, but how do you do the timing of it? If they only play for a week, or if they play for 2 years, it's complicated.
I think maybe a simple solution would be just to charge a royalty. So let's say if one of my NFTs is in Atlantis, then maybe there is a way to create a smart contract that then sort of channels some trading fees to the other game. Maybe that could be how it would work.
Nice.
Yeah, I also feel there should be a need for a universal standard in between games and metaverses, because so far, let's say someone creates an NFT collection, like a PvP collection, and then turns that into 2D or 3D walking characters, and then there's actually few projects that do that. Most of them don't do that. And for the ones who do actually want to enable those NFTs inside of Metaverse, they literally have to do that themselves. They have to do that because no one did that, right? And I feel like if we'll have a standard that will help create this, interoperable variables, NFTs, characters in between metaverses, regardless of their standards and dimensions, 2D, 3D, etc., that will make our life a whole lot easier.
We have 2 more minutes, so maybe we'll open up for questions a little bit, right? Like anyone? You? No? Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
general.
That's okay.
Hello. My question is because I'm not a person that's wasting or investing my times in gaming. I was doing this back in 2001, but I stopped it in the PlayStation 1. My question is how you guys are thinking in terms of someone like me that not investing times in gaming, but want to participating on a gaming, on Web3 gaming in these communities?
Yeah, so I think I've thought about this quite a bit because the crypto community is small, but they have a lot of capital. So for the people that are not into games, I think you can have, for example, marketplaces like NFT marketplaces that don't actually force you to play the game, but then you can still purchase the NFTs there and hold them in your wallet, and I think that's a way to sort of tap into the non-gamer audience.
Yeah, I'd love to add. The way we see that at Atlantis is if you find the intersection of the interest of a person like you, which if you don't play the games, you're still likely to chat with your friends, so you use social aspect. And if you're Web3 native, those who use Web3 applications. So what if we can add that within the gamified world, where you can chat, audio, video, text chat, while you use your dApps on Celo or any other blockchain, and you can also build your own stuff there. Then perhaps the chances that you'll use something like that are much higher, especially if you get to own your stuff, and more so you get to earn while doing something you care about.
I would say, given what you said, you would not be my first prospective customer. I wouldn't go after you because we don't want to have to try and convince you for it. If you're not a gamer, obviously a beautiful 3D space exploration game, you're going to want to spend any time on that. And if you're looking for a free-to-play game, which one of the big advantages of that game model is it allowed people who don't have a lot of time to spend to progress in their game. There's really wonderful options there for someone like yourself also. I would actually say the NFT gaming market right now is probably the perfect place for someone like you because it's very purchase and very light interaction. So our focus is really trying to go towards the crypto audience now and first, and get more adoption, get more wallets playing, interacting with what we're doing.
Okay, we have one more question.
Yeah, so on that note, the other barrier would be the actual gamers who are finding some resistance to NFT gaming and the likes, and AAA games. So how do you bridge that gap? Because I assume community building has got to do with big gamers, AAA games, etc. So how can you overcome that resistance?
That's a great question. Recently, I saw a tweet from itch.io, and probably most of you know that's a platform where you can learn a lot about the games and different sorts of games. And the tweet thread was like, NFTs are scam. People who use that are like, I was like, wow, I'm using that platform literally to play some games and learn about them, and they're tweeting that stuff when NFTs are actually used for the good, and there's a lot of use cases for that. I think the first way to do that is actually build a quality game that's using blockchain. So far, there's few of them, and we need more use cases like that because you cannot just put a bad game on blockchain and pitch that, because it's still a bad game, even though it's on blockchain doesn't make it better. So that's where we should start. And I think that's where we also get a lot of things wrong. We try to make bad things good by adding blockchain to them. Or there's a notion of you need to decentralize everything. You need to build a DAO to govern everything. It shouldn't be that way. Yeah. If anyone wants to add anything.
I believe strongly in this one too. Those gamers are also not the target audience at first. I used to work at Electronic Arts, and they have amazing franchises, FIFA, Battlefield, Sims, and a lot of other gaming companies do. The audiences of those games are really powerful and can also be quite vicious towards the game makers, sometimes in justified ways. They're obviously very, very skeptical about this. And it's kind of what I said before. 10 years ago, they were very skeptical about free-to-play and mobile, and that has taken over the industry, and a lot of those models are in those places. For better and for worse in gaming, sometimes it can be a great implementation, other times their players can complain rightly. So I think it's something that's you don't need to fight that. You don't need to go after that. Go after the players. And there's so many who are really interested and excited about this. Like keep growing it with them. And I think it's a lot of points here about making it more sustainable and long-term rather than short-term focused is the process.
Can I add something?
Yeah, and that's our last.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, I think. So the thing that we need to all remember is that gamers are the most experimental type of users. It's in their nature to explore, to find out things. So if we can leverage something that's already known by them or already used by them, for example, Ubisoft, they got into crypto, right? And I expect Ubisoft to do something with crypto, right? So then there's already a highly trusted brand, a strong brand that will utilize crypto. So that's a huge win for all of us. And the second thing, I think that
because of this pessimistic nature of a lot of people view on crypto, crypto is scam, it's shady, it's used only for black market, drugs and all that. I think there should be some sort of incentivization for people to use crypto, at least for some time, so for them to understand, hey, this is actually cool. Hey, I actually could own my skin and nobody can take it from me, right? No single entity can take what's in my wallet unless I give them the keys.
Yeah, and can I?
Yeah,
One more?
last one. Because
Okay,
we're
last one. Sorry.
Running over other people.
Yeah, so I would also show them like the new world of play to earn, because a good way to convince people is money. And if they realize how much that they actually can play a game and earn money at the same time, then their mind will change pretty quickly. And if they see that games are putting food on the table in developing countries like Philippines, it will change. And even better, if we can create games that are meaningful and are using these new technologies, then they will see that the time is well spent and they can make a profit, they can create impact, and have a meaningful experience.
Thank you. So with that, we finish. Thank you, everybody, for a great session.